sure, you're going to see all these things on Instagram, but don't start comparing yourself with these people that are at the top of the world, literally, in whatever they're doing. Just don't look at these people that, you know, can run up mountains and jump and whatever else they need to do and not even break a sweat when you guys are just starting out, right? So, you know, focus on yourself, basically, and don't look around too much, and don't be afraid to ask for help either.
You're listening to the Talking 20 podcast. This podcast is for you if you're in your 20s and you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? We've all been there, and we want to talk about it. We're your hosts, Bridget O'Rourke and Mary Margaret Courtney, and we sit down with fellow millennials to chat about their journey and hear what they've learned along the way. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Talking 20. Now, as we always say, people's support means the world to us. In whatever way that is, from listening to the podcast and letting us know what you think, asking about what we're doing, or just showing interest in general, all the way down to the simple things like liking or sharing a Facebook or Instagram post. And of course, super important, not sure if we've talked about it enough, subscribing on your favorite podcasting platform. And today we're so thrilled to have a guest on that has showed us the most support so far. He's been super engaged from the very first episode and is always excited when we release the next one. And after chatting with him and finding out more of his story, we knew that we had to have him on. So, introducing Adam Tedesco. Adam is a passionate and driven individual. He's experienced the hardships of taking big risks for that entrepreneurial lifestyle. And what we're going to get more into today, he's been on a roller coaster in the world of health and fitness, both physically and mentally, from training for bodybuilding to training for strongman, and we'll get into the specifics and the differences of both of those in the episode. The ups and downs of his journey have given him some incredible hindsight that we're so excited to share with you today. So welcome to the show, Adam. It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you again, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, again. I was going to say, long time no see, except for the last time we recorded this episode. LOL.
Yeah, it was like high school, a million years, and then the last episode, in a couple months, here we are again. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I said the exact same intro last time. Did it bump you up just as much as the first time
so
you heard
much.
it?
It gets me so amped.
So amped, yes. So we did have Adam on before. We haven't released this episode because Mary and I joined Tough Mudder coming up in September, and we decided that we wanted to have Adam back on the show to talk more about, to get more specific in health and fitness, because we know that he's super knowledgeable about that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and we're super duper excited about it because, yeah, you know all of the things. You've been in all of the competitions.
Yes.
So,
Not yet. We will get there in the fall.
We'll get there, okay. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But yes, Adam, as you mentioned earlier, we knew each other back in high school, and then we parted ways before the shitstorm of our 20s, and now we're back and talking about some crazy awesome stuff that's happened. So how you been? Thanks for being so supportive.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be at the end of our 20s now where things are leveling out. So,
yes,
hooray.
So nice. So you actually reached out to me after we released our first episode, which was it was so nice for that to happen because you were one of the first people that reached out. And when you put something creative out into the world, it's really scary. You don't know if people are going to like it. And seeing that message from you saying like, hey, like, great job, it just meant the world to me and Mary. So thank you so much for doing that. Wanted to start off by saying that.
Yeah, we've had this like really cool continued support, and it's like people similar to you, people in our lives from like what feels like past lives. And then, you know, we like reconnected with these people just through doing this podcast. We never expected it to happen. You were our very first person that reached out and was showing your support and telling us about, you know, your feedback of the episodes. And so, yeah, I also thank you for that because I think it feels like a million years ago, even though it was 7 months ago, Bridget?
8 months, yeah.
8 months ago that we released.
Was it that long ago already?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so
June.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like this podcast has already lived a million lives and will continue to, but those initial people are people that kept that engine moving for us and made us feel like, you know, yeah, that creativity was being supported. So, yeah, simple like did a lot for us at that point.
Yeah, and now it's awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot in the past... I'm just going to keep talking. We've been talking a lot in the past few weeks over our like season 1 and the people we had on and the different advice that was given, the people we related to. So of the episodes you've listened to, who is someone you either related to or some advice from it that you enjoyed that you can remember?
Oh man, there's so many episodes now. I had this answer down pat last time, and now it's like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because
There's a
there was
million
like 2.
Yeah, there were like 3 released at that point.
Yeah.
Now you got more.
Honestly, I really, well, I guess now I've really liked the rocking chair music guy.
Oh, yeah, with Logan.
No, front porch.
Logan.
Was it front porch or
Yeah.
front porch?
Yeah,
Yeah,
front
front
porch
porch, yeah.
music.
What did you like about it? Did you like associate with the entrepreneurial thing?
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, I don't know. Oh, I don't want to say jealous, but it was like, oh, I'm really glad that it worked out for him.
Right.
Actually getting something off the ground and going, because obviously, like we said, it didn't work for me, and we talked a
Yeah.
bit about it last time, but
Yeah, so why don't you take us through a little bit of that journey then, and where you started at 20 after high school, and then
just
where
a quick
you are
30-second
now?
lesson this time.
Yeah, just like a quick brief rundown. What did you say?
A quick 30-second lesson.
Yeah, exactly. 30-second lesson. What
Well,
did
it's
you learn?
helpful. I think it's helpful for people to know a little bit about that side of you. Like this episode, we want to gear towards fitness, but how you got to where you are now has to do with those downfalls. So yeah, just give us like a little insight on that journey.
A brief rundown.
Yes, I guess we can just run right up to the start of the fitness thing. So basically, I was a mechanic here in London, where I am now again. Ended up meeting a really great friend in Kitchener. We grew really close. Eventually, I moved into his basement in Kitchener. Stayed as a mechanic for a while, and then ended up just super hating it. So eventually, we agreed that we would start a business together, an actual brick and mortar store. It was, excuse me, okay for a little bit, and then I caught him doing a whole bunch of things that basically were running the business into the ground and caused me to not make a single dime for multiple months on end. So I left the business, and as a result also lost my home, because obviously when you leave one, you leave the other when you're renting your best friend's basement and you start a business with him.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, was good enough to, sort of take me in when she could. But other than that, I would figure it out and just kind of live the homeless life with just me and my car for a while. And then eventually things leveled out, and I got a job again. Ended up being a mechanic again a few years later after that, and all is well now. And obviously I'm engaged to the same girl who took me in, so things work out.
How
God
come
bless
you
her.
hated being a mechanic at first, but now you like it?
It really
What
depends
changed?
where you are, and
Okay.
just kind of maybe a mindset thing too, because obviously quite a few years in between quitting and then coming back to it. So the place I was before, I don't know, it sounds bad to say on the surface, but they're really super safety oriented. I'm not.
Okay.
Like I'm not.
Aren't
I'm
you
not gonna wear my
supposed to be
safety-
safety oriented as a mechanic?
I
You're
will wear
dealing
my
with
steel
cars
toes.
above you.
Yeah, well, I wear my steel toes every day, and that's as far as we're gonna get. I wear my safety glasses when I
You
have
wear
to.
your
I'm not
steel
gonna wear them all the
helmet
time.
because if a car falls on you, your steel toe boots aren't going to
The
help.
car falls on you, you're going to be dead no matter what. So, I mean, steel helmet's not going to help.
That's true. Not if you're training
So
for a
it was,
strongman
to be
competition.
kinder, it was your work environment and the people you worked with you just didn't jive with.
Yeah, exactly. So, where I am now, our pay or not pay status, our pay format, I guess, is called flat rate. So, each and every job, whether you're paid by it or not, whether you're hourly or the shop just charges it, anyways, has a preset kind of industry standard time that is, it's monitored by the government and the industry, and it's all kind of all jive together that way. But anyway, so every job is a set amount of time that it pays. So when you're working, you get paid that time, whether it takes you under that time or over that time. So
Oh, that's
that's
sweet.
what I really like now, because, I tend to be very quick. So in my 8-hour workday, I can make, 10, 11, sometimes even 16 hours of pay.
Cool.
Nice. And but how long are you working for to do that?
8 hours, not 9 to
Nice.
5, 8 to
Okay.
5.
Cool.
Like a standard work day, but you can
Yeah,
make more
your standard
money
work day, but
based on your...
You can be doubling your time basically.
Right.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we'll talk a bit about that because obviously, well, not obvious at all actually, but we learned from you that doing the heavy lifting stuff made it much easier to do your job, and you became the guy at work who, if you casually had to pick up a car, you were able to help.
No big deal.
I shoulder pressed the back of a car. I wasn't the whole thing, just the back end.
No
But
big
yes,
deal. That's
I like
and I
my
picked up
crazy.
version
engine.
better.
Yeah, I think it's like the Incredibles. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
When the kid's just like, wow.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
you.
much.
Yeah.
That's
So
you.
That's pretty much how they react too.
no, go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So the thing that we're super excited to get into with you is your fitness journey and
Yes.
getting to where you are now. So especially because Mary and I are doing a Tough Mudder in September. So this is our first competition. Have you ever done a competition or training before? Or
No.
is this like your first? Okay, so this is your first one. Okay, so we can
Yep.
all relate
My
about that.
maiden voyage, my first time out.
That's awesome. Okay, so like what have you this is our first kind of week, month starting to train for it. So what have you learned from your training program so far up until now? That you could
That
teach
honestly
us,
do-
that we could, give
that
us
your
the
diet's
goods.
going to be more important than working out.
Your diet is more important than really?
So honestly, 90% of it is your diet, and I know that sucks to hear because now it's going to be all day of work and not just an hour every day. But yeah, what you put into your body is way more important than your working out. And honestly, if you're not monitoring what you're eating or eating right for what you want to do, then I hate to say it, but you might as well not even work out at all
Right.
because it's not going to make a difference because your body doesn't know what to do with the exercise you're putting into it because it can't do anything with it. It doesn't have the proteins, it doesn't have everything else that you need.
Right.
Okay, so when you started training or doing fitness, you were working towards bodybuilding, correct?
Kind of, sort of. So I started out just like your average person. I'm just going to go and basically just be healthy and keep everything in tone. And then I ended up running into an old friend of mine at the gym, which I still go to now. And he basically looked at me the one day and he's like, you've got the perfect frame for what's called physique class of bodybuilding, which is basically just like your standard, beach body, super wide shoulders and chest, very tiny waist, and then legs aren't even judged, so it's really up to you if you want to do them.
Really?
Interesting.
So
Yeah, what?
Everyone
yeah,
always has like
so
crazy jacked legs.
because it helps. Because
Right.
even though they're not judged, it's like, well, if one guy
Still.
is, chicken legs down there, but the other guy fills out his shorts, then it's like, well,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
looks
Yeah,
better than the
okay.
other, right? So because it's all opinion-based judging, they're not judged, but they totally are.
Okay.
Right.
So he looked at me and told me I had the perfect frame for it, and I brushed it off at first, and then kind of started looking around on Instagram at this bodybuilding thing and whatever else, and then I ended up getting into it and deciding, yeah, I'm going to do a bodybuilding competition. So I started training really, really hard for that. But the thing about bodybuilding is because you're standing on stage and you're literally asking someone to give their opinion and judge based the way you look. And there's such finite differences between, everybody because everybody's working just as hard. And honestly, you look at pictures and everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
I was on Instagram today and she won last year at Miss Olympia, but she posted her last like 6 years of the same pose, and it was like captioned like third second first whatever. She looked the same to me, like it's exactly the same. There's basically no difference at all.
So it's
Right.
But
based
that's
on
how
the people
finite
that
things
she
get.
was competing against then, right?
Yeah, more
That's
or
why
less.
she was getting into certain, like winning
So
certain ones and not
because you're
others.
standing there and you're asking someone to judge you and the differences are so finite and it's literally something is like, well, this shoulder is not symmetrical to the other shoulder. You start really freaking out and obsessing over these little tiny things and it's all you can think about and it just consumes you. So I just started noticing that my mental health was just completely declining because I'm obsessing over every little thing and worrying about it and basically becoming this self-conscious weirdo,
So did
and I couldn't handle it
you,
anymore.
was that you who figured it, like, tell us about the moment that you realized that you were obsessing over it and that you shouldn't, I guess you didn't follow through on the competition. Is that what happened?
I changed which competition I want to go to because obviously I want to do strongman now, which is way more
Okay.
relaxed. We can get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But it kind of started with it started with my fiance, and then family and friends around me just started kind of commenting, well, like you're getting really obsessed with this, like basically just saying that I need to back off. And at first you're thinking, well, you just don't understand, right? Like you don't know what it takes to do this because it's so hard. And then eventually I just really kind of took a step back and I was like, I don't even enjoy what I'm doing anymore. Like I'm just obsessing so much and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Why am I doing it?
And it's all I can think about.
Yeah. Were
So
you
how did you turn that off? Like,
I just
how did you
honestly just
switch?
changed. changed fields, just changed what I want to do.
Okay.
I don't even really know how it started where I fell into strongman. I know at one point I watched a documentary on Netflix called Eddie Strongman. It's basically the story of a guy named Eddie Hall who won World's Strongest Man in 2017. But it's like it was at the beginning where he was like in his 20s and he's just starting out doing like these random just amateur competitions around England, and then he just works his way up to the worlds. And that kind of got me into it. And then in the gym, I started noticing, because I backed off bodybuilding and I was just kind of doing what I wanted, I started noticing that it's called strength ego, basically, where I liked lifting the heaviest things I possibly could. And I'm like, so those things kind of coincided, and I was like, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna start chasing strongman because I just like moving heavy shit. So let's go to do something where all that matters is what kind of weight I can move, and it doesn't matter if I'm pretty or if I'm fat or whatever.
Did you have like a period of not feeling inspired anymore? Like coming out of that and feeling a little like there's no direction before you find strongman, where you kind of like blah on fitness, or did you go back to the gym and keep up with healthy eating?
I kept up to it to a point. I backed off my diet a little bit because, whatever, right? It didn't really matter
There was no
anymore.
deadline anymore, yeah.
Exactly. There's no deadline. There's nothing I needed to achieve. And like I said, I changed my workouts to just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I swear? Can I swear like that? Are we good?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fuck yeah, you
Anyway,
can.
so I just
Fucking right.
so I said I'm just gonna do what I want and go back to workouts I actually enjoy. And then yeah, that just led in really slowly to move heavy shit and let's just see what I can do.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's cool.
so take us through what is a strongman competition?
So people confuse strongman and
Strongman!
powerlifting all the
Sorry.
time.
Strongman and what?
Strongman and powerlifting,
Okay.
because
Okay.
it's very similar. The best way I can describe it was a meme that I shared it on my Instagram story a while back, where the first slide was this little comic strip of this guy with like a bunch of plates in a bar, and he's complaining like, "Oh, are these plates calibrated? I can't train properly if these plates aren't calibrated." And then the next slide said strongman across the top, and it was basically put sand in bag, sand make bag heavy, heavy bag make me happy. And that's all strongman is. It's just move heavy shit. It doesn't, no form doesn't matter. It's not judged. It's just, can you move this extremely heavy object, yes or no, and the direction that we want you to go.
If form doesn't matter, isn't that gonna like make you get hurt very soon when you're
It can.
training?
And you watch The World's Strongest Man every year, and it claims all kinds of biceps and hamstrings and backs and everything else. But just because it isn't judged doesn't mean it doesn't matter as much, right? Because you need to survive the competition, so you
Yeah,
can
to
focus
get
on
to
form.
the competition, you have to learn about those forms
Yeah.
and use them to get
But
stronger.
at the actual deadlift competition or whatever, like if that's what the event is, the judge is only going to give you the down signal. He doesn't care how you got up there.
Right.
It's really just, yes, you got up, okay, good, go down. And there's a few rules in between, like that you can't. It's called double dipping on a shoulder press, where like you can use your legs on the way up just to kind of get that weight moving and jerk it, but halfway up you can't then stop and then do it again.
Right.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It's got to be like a straight movement.
Yeah, once you get it moving, you have to then keep moving in the motion that you're going. You can't stop and jerk it again to get it going again.
Okay. So do you have a coach or a trainer that's helping you through this, like to understand what the competition's going to be like, the stress, the emotions?
I mean, I really should. Maybe I will one day, but no, right now, no. It's really expensive to do all that.
Ah,
So
of
it's
course.
just kind of
So you're just learning
do as much
through...
as I can on my own, get started.
Okay. When is it again?
In the fall somewhere, I gotta pick one and see what comes up and
Gotcha.
what gets posted, basically.
Nice.
But yeah, as of right now, my plan is basically just, not even necessarily win, but I just want to go and at least say I've done it and see how it goes and at least, stay competitive with them, right? So
This is exciting.
we've
So
had-
you're
How it
training
goes.
at the same time for the same timeline as us.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah, I
been
guess
training
so.
longer.
yeah, it's been a couple of years now.
You're
but
probably gonna do a better job.
You've been in this a little bit longer than us, but still cool.
Yeah.
Still cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that mentality of like you don't care if you win, you just wanna get there. That's
Do
very
it.
similar to Spencer, who we had on our podcast, who actually I think we were talking about this when we were guesting on his podcast, where it's just like it holds you accountable to sign up for some sort of competition, and it really helps just like get those gears moving and giving you a goal and
Yeah.
then when you get there, you just want to finish it. You don't necessarily want to win it. Winning
Yeah.
like the cherry on top.
Yeah,
Good
maybe the
mentality
next
to
time we'll
have.
think about winning or whatever, but right now it's just let's go and do it and let's keep up.
Yeah.
Are you nervous, like thinking about entering it? It's first time.
Sometimes, but then I'll take a step back and realize that I'm more nervous about trying to do well. I need to remind myself to back off because that's not why I'm going.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just terrified. Like, I know Tough Mudder is differently. Wow, words. Tough Mudder is different, but my nerve is like it's an unexpected thing. Like, I guess strongman, you can just keep practicing lifting heavy shit, but there must be aspects of it that you will try for the first time that day. And like, that's my biggest fear is I'm like, I'm going to train for this Tough Mudder, but like, I have no idea what it's going to do to my body until that day. Because I won't do a Tough Mudder until I do a Tough Mudder.
Like,
do
they give you the program of like what the competition is going to be ahead of time so you know exactly what to practice? Or is it like you go into it, like we're going to be going into Tough Mudder being like, I don't know what obstacles are there. I don't know what I have to do.
Yeah.
Yes or no. If you look at the listings for the competitions, it'll be like even right up to the pro levels in the World's Strongest Man or whatever. You look at it and it tells you some of the events. Maybe it'll tell you the weight that you're going to start at or the weight that it's going to be, but probably not. So it'll tell you some events, and then in between it'll be like, surprise event 1, surprise event 2, and then when you get there, you just got to deal with it.
And that's not scary?
Surprise event 1. Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
awful.
I guess it could be scary if you're really worried about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's moving weight, right? And it doesn't really matter. So
surprise! It's an
you just assume
airplane.
you're gonna be able to do
Surprise!
it.
It's a
Like,
train going the other way.
Yeah. Well, it was a train at World's Strongest Man the previous year.
Yeah, I was
and that
going to
was a
say,
surprise
give us some example. That was a surprise event?
Yeah, and it wasn't even what they planned. So it was going to be a surprise event. Nobody knew what it was going to be. A rumor came out that it was going to be, it was supposed to be a pull. You were going to pull a locomotive and one car, a certain amount of difference, just like attached to a rope, and you were just going to pull it towards you. Or then the rumor came out, well, no, maybe it'll be similar to a truck pull, where basically they chain you to a transport truck and you got to walk with it, chained to your back X amount of distance.
This excites you?
And then
You want to do that? This is something you want?
Why not? Wouldn't it be cool to be able to say, like, yeah, I can say that I can move a truck by myself. Not a full-size transport truck, but I can.
I think it's just so out of our, like, Mary and my reach that it's just not even something that we have ever considered being excited about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's just not something that we can physically do.
They're also like, can I ask, and anyone can get mad, I don't care, but how many women sign up for this Strongman?
Oh, a ton. There's a whole world. There's
Really?
a whole women's World's Strongest Man. Yeah.
Is it called Women's World's Strongest Man? That sounds weird.
That's amazing.
I guess it'd be World's Strongest Woman, wouldn't it? I should say that. It'd be World's Strongest Woman, I guess. That would be the proper language. But anyway.
Women's World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Classic.
anybody listening right now, or you guys, or whatever. There's a woman in England called Rhiannon Lovelace. You look her up, and she is a friggin' tank. Like, she'll keep up with the boys, moving the weight around.
Wow.
Lovelace. I've heard that name recently. I don't know why.
Okay.
Did she do something recently?
Great.
I haven't heard about anything. I haven't heard her name in a couple of years, to be honest.
All right. Well,
right.
Don't know why I heard of that.
That's it about that one.
So it was, like I said, it was going to be a train pull. They were going to chain him to a train. Everybody was kind of practicing for that because obviously you can practice for that really easily. You chain yourself to your own truck or whatever. And then at the last minute...
What if I don't have a truck?
At the last minute, they were running the competition, and they were like, oh shit, the brakes on the train car don't actually work right now. So they had to, last minute, just
Good thing
reorganize
they
the
figured
event.
that out
And they were like,
before they started.
you would think. So at the last minute, they were like, okay, here's a locomotive, and just push it. And I think they had to push it like 25 meters or whatever it was.
Whoa.
So, yeah, they just pushed it instead.
So how much do you push and pull right now, for context? Besides cars.
Well, I don't know. It depends which way you want to go, I guess. Like, I'm leg pressing. Well, right now I kind of really only work up to about 800 pounds, but at one point a while back, before even really doing strongman, I decided I want to be able to leg press 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, I think
So
that's what you were at last time you were
yeah, so
here.
I started working on that, and then it was after I had started training for strongman that I had actually done it, and
Right.
Okay,
then
so because
And
I
you're
haven't done it since.
sorry, I just want to give context to the listeners. Like, what Mary and I would go to the gym and leg press would be. Last time I said 80 pounds, and you guys were like, no.
Yeah, there's
Like
no way you're only
100,
pushing 80.
150 or something. Like, that's what it would be. Just to give
I don't
context
know.
of, like, how much a
Most like normal,
average-sized woman
yeah, most
would.
normal women I usually kind of see push 180, I guess, kind of sort
Okay.
of. The guys,
But it
180 to
depends also what you're
300.
doing, right? Like if you're working to
Yeah,
fail, if you're trying to see like what's the heaviest your body can do versus like I want to do 10, what would it be? 10 reps or no?
yeah,
Like
be reps.
10, yeah, 10 reps 3 times
Yeah,
or whatever the language is. Like when I was training with my personal trainer, which back when we first interviewed you, I was with her and we were doing work to fail training, which was way harder and scarier. And that's like where I can't wrap my head around the strongman is that she trained me for a long time and she was training endurance and a mix of flexibility with strength. And then when I got to a certain level, she was like, okay, now you're going to come in here and you're just going to keep lifting this and I'm just going to keep putting weight on until you can't do it anymore. But in my head, this like wire switches and I'm like, my back has to break for you to tell me to stop. Like I'm not going to stop, which mentally right now I'd be like, I can't do that. I can't do that. But once I'm in it and I'm in that moment, I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And you can like surpass what you think you can do, but it's not safe to do it. So that's my thing with the strongman. I'm like, how, like with the adrenaline and the endurance, and they're not looking at your form and they're not looking at there must be so many people who go there and just like destroy their bodies.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
mean, I've been hurt in the gym a bunch of times because I get too excited and I push too hard, and then oh crap, now my friggin' back is broken.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Ooh.
But that's more or less how I train.
not having a trainer, you've talked a little bit about food. We'll get more into
Yeah.
that. What are some of your resources that you're using to help build your training module, figure out what to be eating, how much to be eating, all the pieces?
So I do rely on Instagram really, really heavily. I follow a ton of professional strongmen. There's a website called Generation Iron, literally just generationiron.com, I'm pretty sure. They focus on bodybuilding quite a bit, but I mean, same deal, right? It's all fitness, so you take what you need and you leave what you don't. But I should come clean and say the thing about strongman is my diet really kind of doesn't matter, because it's okay for me to get fat. So literally, my focuses every day are take in carbs, take in a shitload of calories, and eat my body weight in grams of protein every single day.
So take us through what your meals would be then. What's like a typical
Uh,
meal
s-
structure?
so, so on a good day where I'm actually eating what I'm supposed to, I'll get up and I will have a couple of protein pancakes just to get going. 2 hours after that, I will have a snack of whatever I feel like, whatever's in the fridge.
Wouldn't
Uh,
that be nice? Whatever I
then I'll eat
feel
lunch. Yeah, then I'll eat lunch, which is usually huge, a couple thousand calories if I can.
like.
That sounds
Um,
Stop it.
amazing. Stop
yeah,
it.
and then supposed to be having a snack 2 hours again after that. Usually in the afternoon, I'll work out, have a protein shake after, have a huge dinner after.
How many
Like
calories
it's
is your
eating a
dinner?
ton of food. Same deal, probably about two or three.
So
No,
you're
I shouldn't
eating
say three.
like
Two.
A lot.
5,000 plus calories a day.
I'm supposed to be taking in about 5 or 6,000 a day. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
wow,
And then
wow.
the
Yeah, you must be
the pros eat
starving. Like all the time. You must just be really
well,
hungry.
I ate before the interview, so yeah, we're good.
No, but right, like in your day
But
to day, it's like you probably feel like you
just
can't get
yeah,
enough in your body.
yeah, usually
Yeah.
because your body's just so used to like, oh, it's been 2 hours. Yeah, time to be hungry and let's eat something again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I started going to the gym and like training and stuff. I was hungry all the time and I had no idea why. I was
Yeah.
like I'm working out so hard and then I'm gonna eat it all back when I'm done, at the gym. And then I realized that it's because I'm going to the gym that I get hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd eat and you were hungry again right after, and it was like you hadn't eaten anything
Yeah.
Yeah,
else.
now I'm
Which
just
is
like
like
training
probably
hard, but Go ahead. I was just gonna make a stupid comment.
Oh, no, you were. Say it. You're training hard, but what?
And I'm training hard, but I'm still just no. Now I was gonna say now I'm not training hard, but I'm still always hungry. But then I realized
eating
I'm still
like you're training
so.
hard.
Yeah.
It is my favorite part about
you...
like getting exercise, like getting my shit together in the past like month or two. That's a thing I'm excited about, where I'm like, I can eat more guilt free.
Yeah.
Not so much guilt free.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Keep going.
the thing I wanted to mention is, if you eat and you find like 20 minutes later you're suddenly feeling like you're hungry again, that's a sign from your body to actually stop and look back and think about what you just ate and what you just did wrong. Because your body's telling you, like, hey, stupid, you just ate something that's missing a huge part of what I want right now. So, chop, chop, let's have some more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, like,
that's
if your body's needing carbs at that point and what you eat doesn't have a lot of carbs in it, your body's going to still be hungry.
You'll be hungry again.
Minutes.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Or conversely, lunch today, I had a huge bowl of pasta and like 2 sausages. And then I was hungry 20 minutes later, and it's because I thought about it. It's like, okay, well, I only had 2 freaking sausages. That's why I'm hungry again, because my body's like, where's my protein? Come on, man.
That is a good point, because when I started doing a lot of training, I was also working on a vegan diet, just exploratory. I just wanted to try it. It was the beginning of COVID. I had nowhere to go. And I was talking to someone about some of the symptoms I was having because there is a lot when you become a vegan that your body's like, what is happening? But I also was trying to not eat bread, and I don't drink milk. So they were like, hey, if you're mixing this like new vegan diet with also a crazy amount of exercise, go to a doctor, because you're not going to be getting what you need. So I slowly started like adjusting a little bit, and like I started eating eggs or a little bit of chicken or something like that. And it still wasn't working. And then eventually I got tipped off where someone was like, your carb load is probably way too low, especially for weightlifting. Yeah. And I was just so used to like dancing and running, and like everything I did was just like movement based. I knew nothing about weight training. And yeah, they were like, you don't realize how much your body burns when you weight lifts. Wow. That's right.
When you weight lifts, yeah.
Sounds good to me. So when you weight lifts, so I did, and I started upping the carb, and it really helped. And yeah, that's a really good point. It's to like take a minute and look at why you're having that reaction, and don't just assume you did it right before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure for you guys that you're taking in clean carbs rather than just carbs.
Right, which is one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, it's a lot of jasmine rice for you guys. That's about the cleanest carb you can get.
Really? Jasmine rice? I thought white rice wasn't as good for you as brown rice.
It depends which one. If you get the starch, like, here's a big box of white rice.
Like minute rice?
No,
yeah, you got to get like good quality rice. Well, I'm you have to get
rice jasmine
tomorrow,
rice or whatever and actually make the stuff.
What a treat.
Yeah. Rice is great, and I think it's also what gets tricky is like each person, you have to look at what, like on top of a healthy diet and a clean diet and where you get your food and all those things, you have to look at your personal lifestyle and the goals you're trying to achieve. So for me, a big one is anti-inflammatory. So yeah, when I'm carb loading, pasta's almost never on the table because pastas can be very inflammatory. Some people it's not that bad. Other people it's worse. Asthmatics, it's worse. So it is like, it's tough when you get going. And Bridget and I had just had this conversation about counting macros and how it can be super beneficial for you. But depending on your personality and depending on what you need, it can actually be more harm than good. And it sounds like Bridget's experience with F45 and counting macros and all that was effective to get you going. But you had a similar experience to Adam with his bodybuilding competition. It's that like body dysmorphia where it's like it's too obsessive, it's too much, and all of a sudden your brain's focusing on the wrong things. And then not to mention, you just start hating it. Like you don't want to do it anymore because it's not what's working for you.
Yeah. So exactly what I was going to say is when you start doing macros, it's really, really easy. It's a very slippery slope to just start obsessing over every little thing you're putting into your body, and then it's all you think about.
Yeah, that's what I found exactly like Mary said, when I started counting macros, I was getting so obsessive about everything, and like when I would eat When we were doing the conversation the other day, Mary and I talking about macros, I was eating a bacon sandwich, and I was like, I would never eat this if I was counting macros. Like, because I'll look at it and I'll think, okay, that has all of my fat in it for the whole day. That means I can't eat any other fat. And also, as a young, average-sized female, you don't get a lot of macros. Like, for you, Adam, your macros would probably be pretty high if you were counting them. But for me, it's like, it's almost like I'm not putting enough stuff in my body. So it's like obsessive, but then I also feel hungry and like I'm not eating enough because I'm only like allowing myself, 120 grams of protein and 170 carbs and 70 grams of fat. Like, it's not a lot.
Right.
So, like eating, 1,400 calories a day, whereas, you're eating 5,000 and it just like I got very obsessive about it. And like every once in a while, I like to have a little stint of time where I'll go and I'll count my macros in the foods that I'm eating just to kind of light a fire under my ass to be like, okay, like I'm way overdoing it on carbs and just to kind of get back on track. But it is, you're right, a very slippery slope where you can get obsessed with it very easily. And I found that it wasn't a good thing for my mental health at all. So I totally relate with you about the whole, mental struggles of it. What other kinds of mental hurdles have you had to overcome, switching from bodybuilding to strongman competition, or even just in general fitness-wise? So
with the strongman thing, another thing I have to remind myself of is with strongman, there's different classes. Some places will call it, medium weight, heavyweight, and open or whatever. Mostly in Europe, it's called, there's like under 90 kilo body weight, under 105, and then there's open. So the thing I kept having to remind myself is on Instagram, I follow the big 400-pound, open world's strongest men, right? So they're moving a ton more weight than I'm ever going to manage. They're eating, 12,000 to 20,000 calories every single day. Which I'm never going to manage.
Whoa.
I would explode.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Yeah,
their full-time
honestly, it's
job
so much
is
fun.
eating food.
Yeah, it's so much fun to just sit on YouTube and watch they post it all the time. There's like my daily diet. And it's like, they just eat these mountains of food, what seems like every 20 minutes. Just to take
I was listening to a podcast
calories.
of someone who was trying to gain weight as, it's one of Dax Shepard's podcasts. So it's one of his friends who was obese was trying to get down to 270. And one of his friends who's like a CrossFit, he's like trains people, he has his own gym, all this stuff, was trying to get up to 270 because he's super lean. And he's like got his eating and exercise down to a routine. And so they were like, let's see who can get to 270 first. So this guy was trying to gain weight like a madman. So he had an alarm going off to wake him up in the middle of the night because he was like, there aren't enough hours in a day to get the calories I need. Yeah, and he was like, and obviously
what a different lifestyle.
I know, he was like, I still want to be fit and I still want to eat properly. He's like, so and he was like, it was great because at Thanksgiving and stuff, he was like extra stuffing and extra gravy and all those things. But day to day, he's like, you can't just be shoving like Big Macs and pizzas down your gob. Like, that's also not okay. So he was like, to do it properly, he literally had to sleep less so he could eat more.
And it's hilarious to watch these guys too, because like you watch them and it's like in a public gym in the middle of their workout, they just stop, open their bag, and they just start eating like, meat and bananas and whatever just out of their bag, and then they keep going working out.
What a concept.
And I'm like, look at it. If you were at a gym as a normal person, you'd look at that guy and be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Eating dinner in the middle of a gym.
Yeah, it's like the old school fitness too would be like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Who is this guy?
Who is this man? Oh, that's really funny.
So now, do you have any like struggles when you're eating food or anything like that? Does any of your body dysmorphia struggles show up now? Because you're eating a whole bunch of food now, whereas before you weren't. So how does that mental battle look?
I mean, I think my focus has just shifted so much, and I'm just so focused on strongman now that I'm like, I don't really care. Like, if I grow a gut, I don't care. It's really just size is a side effect now. I'm more focused on if I can move the weight.
Right.
And, I see if I can move the weight. A lot of times it's a surprise that I can. I've done it at work a bunch of times where I've been more shocked than anyone else that the weight moved. I almost injured a coworker once because the weight moved and I wasn't expecting it to.
Seriously?
What do you mean? Whoa.
Was it a car?
Yeah, I can see your
Did you
faces. I
push
gotta
a
tell this
car
story
into a
now.
coworker?
Almost. So it was a full-size F-150 pickup truck, the full-size pickup truck. And I know I've got to be able to move them around and push them. I hadn't been able to yet. So he needed a push out of his bag because it wasn't running. So I was like, okay, whatever. And we were joking like, oh, I could probably just do it myself. So before he was even in the truck, it was already in neutral because of the way the truck worked. Before he was even in, I was like, I'm going to see if it moved. And I pushed it and it started moving. So he's like, wait, I'm not even in the truck yet. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting it to move as I'm hanging onto the fender of this thing trying to stop it. Because this thing just
Oh
started
my
rolling. I wasn't expecting it to
God.
move
Oh
and it
my
did. And then,
god.
You're like, I'm so terrified
Yeah.
I almost harmed you, but also so proud of myself at the same time.
Yeah, but also like
You're not
fucking
gonna move the truck,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, I feel
you see
great.
what I just did?
That's amazing.
That's
Okay,
so
so
cool.
lifestyle wise, like this is I think a big thing when people listen to these type of things, and something I'm learning over time is that we get into these like competitions or we want to set goals for ourselves and they're not sustainable because they don't fit with our lifestyle. But when we talked with you last time, we
Yeah.
kind of got a bit into your fiance and how supportive she is and all that. But did she start out well? So for our listeners, is she like super into fitness too? Does she have her own competitions or routines or any style of fitness that she's really into?
No, she's more into the go to the gym to be healthy and just kind of stay in shape kind of thing. So she, for the most part, goes when I
Okay.
do. Our workouts are obviously extremely different and on way different wavelengths, but we go for the same amount of time at the same day or whatever. Um, we more or less kind of eat the same thing, just same deal. I eat way more than she does. Usually, I'm finishing her dinner for her. But yeah, so she's into it, but not quite to the same extent, but enough that she, is supportive enough that making sure I'm eating or I'm eating the right things or, she's not saying, let's go to McDonald's tonight when I can't do that, right?
Why
So
can't you do
at least
that?
there
I
is
thought
that
you
for
can eat
support.
anything.
Not McDonald's. It still has to be some
Well,
semblance
you
of
know
Okay,
what?
health.
okay.
Like, yeah,
Toxic.
sure, cheesecakes and ice cream are okay, but I can't go to friggin' McDonald's.
Cheesecake and ice cream, yum.
Well,
You
it's
can
true.
whenever you want.
Yeah, it's calories. Get it
We're
in.
just gonna do the strongman just so she can.
Yeah,
have
I think
cheesecake
I'm
and ice
gonna do
cream.
the
Yeah.
strong woman
Yeah,
man. Woman
here's
strong
you guys.
man.
You got to focus on like chicken and
Bridget,
broccoli and clean rice and things. And I'm
I
like,
know, and she's right. Like we're just smaller beings to start, so our calorie counts and our what we can put in our bodies is just automatically less. But our appetites are just as big.
Yeah. We aim
yeah,
high.
you still want
Yeah.
cheesecake?
So is your fiance super supportive of the strongman? Like it must be somewhat interfering in like lifestyle and what you guys can do and when you can go out and what you can eat, like you said. What's her support like?
So she usually makes sure that I get to the gym, even if there's a point in our schedule where I've got to go without her. We usually make that work. I mean, obviously some days it is what it is. Our lives are still normal. I got to skip it. I'm not professional yet, right? So it still is what it is. But usually most days it's pretty good for, okay, well, let's make it work so that you can go to the gym this time and then we'll do whatever after.
Right.
Right.
So important.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
So you used to be a tall, skinny guy in high school. Your words, not mine, from the last time. So,
Yeah.
did you?
String bean, toothpick, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call
Did
it.
you
Yeah.
get into fitness before you met your girlfriend, or did you guys get into it together? How did your fitness journey start?
Um, as I met her, I was kind of sort of just quitting smoking and going to the gym haphazardly without any real focus or anything. So it kind of started at the same time, but definitely with her, she had me join the gym that she was going to, which is an awesome gym. It's got every little thing you could possibly need. So it started with her, kind of sort of at the same time.
Cool.
Okay.
That's kind of nice because it's like you evolved through this with her versus like if she entered into your life after you'd already started training for the strongman or whatever. It might be a bit hard for them to understand like why. Like even us asking you all these questions on this podcast where it's like I really don't get it. But she was with you through that bodybuilding journey. She knows what the side of it being an unhealthy thing, like how much worse this could have been for you. I think there's a nice like
Yeah.
understanding that she's a part of that journey and that she helped balance you out and say like, hey babe, this isn't necessarily healthy for you. let's find something else. It's nice to hear that she's like attentive and she's not, like, oh, this sounds stupid and just shuts it down. I think it's important.
Yeah. So it's at all aspects too. Because like I said, when I started, I was that same what Bridget just described, that same 150 pounds soaking wet toothpick basically, and
I
then I
did
started
not
gaining a
say
ton of
that.
weight. Okay, I said it fine, but I was very skinny. You could see all my ribs, and I was a skinny little string bean basically, and I worked my way up from there. And then now, um, I mean, she's super down for the adventure because the strongman competition in Canada are mostly up north or in Quebec. So she's down
She's
for
like,
that adventure, and then the
woo,
joke now is,
weekend
Let's go.
yeah, pretty much. So because she's a registered massage therapist as well, she's basically going to say that she has to come because I'm going to be broken and she's got to fix me at the end of the
That's
Right
weekend,
so true.
on.
Wow, what an asset in a partner. A massage
right?
therapist.
How's that for luck?
Oh my God, I want that.
Wow, you really lucked out. You guys are a perfect match for each other. You like to lift strong things,
Yeah.
and she likes to massage people who lift strong things back to health. That's great.
Yeah, and she worked for the last couple of years. She's worked at a sports injury clinic too. So I've got the full realm now of
Amazing.
every person. Like a couple months ago, I was going to physio for 4 months to get my shoulder fixed. So
Is she ever
Wow.
like, babe, I do
anything I
not
need now is
want
pretty much
to
there.
massage tonight? Or is she like super down to help you out?
Sometimes I've got to bribe her sometimes, either with money or
Yeah.
food or whatever.
Yeah. Because I'd be like every night.
And I get it. Like I don't want to fix cars any more than she wants to massage humans at the end of the day.
Right.
So fair enough.
She comes home with like a blown tire, and you're like, well, get out the massage bed and I'll fix your tire.
That's a good idea. I should start trying
You
that.
should.
See
You
how that
Also,
should
goes.
you have
just go
for
and
her.
pop her tires. So that,
Yeah.
take it up a level. Just start like making her car shut down at random places. Well, guess you gotta give me a massage.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. That's great. So, if you were to talk to someone to go back a little bit to just your journey from the bodybuilding into the strongman, I think it's an important part of your journey that you knew to pivot when it got a little unhealthy and it wasn't fun and good for you. And it seems like such a minor thing, kind of, but for some people, it could really go south if they start to work at health and fitness. And for us, like we've talked about our journey of, we want to share with our podcast platform about our fitness and our learning getting to the Tough Mudder. But there's also a lot to talk about being girls and being people that we can get addicted and obsessed to things. So we need to do it in a healthy way. So for you, like that point to me is such an important point to remember when I'm doing my training of really making sure that it's serving me at all angles of my life. So if you could like give someone else advice or go back and advise yourself on like that point in time, what would be something you would say, just to help you take the right steps to do the right thing?
I mean, pretty much your standard internet age answer, right? Like, sure, you're going to see all these things on Instagram, but, don't start comparing yourself with these people that are at the top of the world, literally, in whatever they're doing. So, like, for me, it's don't compare myself too much to the 400-pound guy that can move a plane by himself. And for you guys, it's
Very different.
you don't look at these, yeah. Well, but even so, like, just don't look at these people that, can run up mountains and jump and whatever else they need
Yeah.
to do, and not even break a sweat when you guys are just starting out, right? So, focus on yourself basically,
Yeah.
and don't look around too much, and don't be afraid to ask for help either. Like, people are always worried that like that super jack guy at the gym is going to be pissed if you talk to him, you dare say a word to him asking for help. But honestly, most of us would be like, sure, I'm happy to show you things or talk or spot you for all I care.
That's great. See, speaking of that, okay, that was great advice. I'm just going to take a little bit of a turn here. So, do people, when you talk to them at the gym, do people actually get mad?
I mean, for the most part, I don't. I usually have big ass headphones on that I don't
Because,
talk
like,
to anybody.
everybody says, like,
Um,
don't talk to people at the gym because they're in their own little zone. But I'm like, that's the best place to meet men. Why
I
wouldn't I?
don't. Well, I was gonna say don't hit on women at the gym. That's usually a terrible idea.
Bridget's here to tell you
I
otherwise.
mean, I'm open to it.
Well, that's the thing, right? You never know. Sure, maybe Bridget's over there, doing squats extra deep to attract that jack guy behind her. But
Extra
then there's going to be the girl next to her in the hat that's like, stay the hell away from me. I just want to do my thing
True,
and
it's
not be
like
hit on
Russian
for an hour.
roulette.
That is true.
So for the most part, as a rule of thumb, unless you are physically invited over or she's, being very obvious about it, don't hit on women.
Yeah, that's true, Bridge. You
But
could
beyond
just like
that,
if there's a
no.
cute boy, you could just be like, "Hey, like if you have a sec, would you
Yeah,
spot
wave
me?"
at him or something. Give him some sort of signal to say it's
Yeah,
okay.
like ask them to spot you because it's like a safety concern. You need someone to spot you.
I need
So it's not
I
like
need that.
Exactly.
yeah,
And then I pick
you know,
up my
you can,
little
like,
5-pound weight. Okay, thank you.
and they're like, no. Yeah, like something like that where it's
And plus for the guys, it's a total ego boost, right? Because it's not it's an unsaid rule that you want to be the guy that's the biggest guy, so people ask you for a spot, right? So
You
I
want?
mean, I was over the moon the first time I got asked for
Wait,
a
you
spot.
want
So
to be the biggest guy so people ask you to spot them?
because you look like a
You
strong
want to be
because if
asked
they're
to
asking
be
you,
spot.
yeah, because if you're gonna ask someone random to help you with a spot or whatever, you want the biggest
You
guy you
must
can
think
find
they're
because you want
strong
to make
and
sure that he's gonna be able to
yeah,
save
they
you.
can protect you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's very like
So,
basic.
but to
and
answer your question,
instinctual.
no, so to answer your question, the few times I've been talked to, no, I really don't care. It's fine.
Okay. That's good. Just trying to,
Yeah.
see what the gym I'm thinking about getting a gym membership. I've been doing Peloton.
I highly recommend.
I've
Hopefully we don't lock down again and it just becomes
Yeah,
pointless. But
hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing just like at home Peloton workouts, and I have a new job that's completely remote, so I was like, maybe I'll join a gym to get some, social interaction. But then I was
Outdoor.
like, but nobody. I'm not supposed to talk to anybody at the gym. So this is good to know.
Maybe just try and
Needed
find a
some
good gym.
insider
Like,
info.
yeah, see like if Hamilton has a more like useful social gym or something.
Yeah, social gym.
Social gym. I like the idea of
Biggest
following more
gym
people
in
though.
Hamilton with single boys. That's my Google search.
Can you
Yeah, there's your
just try
Google
it?
search
Google
right
it.
there.
Like no harm. If you don't try, you'll never know. Because maybe someone out there put a
Yeah.
review that was like, I was single, now I'm married, and it's because I went to this gym. Boom.
Done. All
Done.
right. Don't
Yeah.
try. We'll
And the other
report
thing
back.
I'll add too is
Sorry, go ahead.
the other thing I'll add is to it. It seems obvious to say, but you'd be very surprised. Apply common sense if you're going to talk to somebody too. If they're mid-rep, probably don't go talk to them. Let them finish what they're doing and put the weight down before you
All
talk
right,
to
that's
them.
You
fair.
walk over, there's
You'd be surprised how often somebody will come over mid-rep and you're like working and doing what you're doing, and they're like, "Oh, can I ask you a question?" And it's like, at the moment, no. I'd really rather you didn't.
Yeah, they're
All
also
right.
like probably in a lot of pain and not excited to talk to another. They're just trying to breathe. I like your idea though of social media. Like Bridge, we need to follow people who do Tough Mudders.
Yeah,
it's
that
funny,
actually
like-
makes a lot of sense.
We've talked about like different things we have to do, and this sounds so silly, but I'm adding it into my exercise once it gets warmer. When I signed up for the Tough Mudder, the first thing I thought is I gotta start doing monkey bars.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm gonna start going to the park and do monkey bars and maybe try to do some like pull-ups on them and I don't know why it's like my biggest fear. Exercise of like running should be my fear, but yeah. So I'm like,
Monkey
if
bars,
we
that's a great
follow,
idea.
yeah, if we follow people on social media, it'll probably give us a better idea of what their routines are and what they do.
Right.
But I mean, like, you're not wrong. Like, same thing when it gets warmer. I can tell the story of how I found it, but I've got a keg in my truck right now filled with 50 pounds of sand. So when it gets warmer, I'm going to be heading to baseball diamonds and trying to throw it over the big tall fence thing.
Just make sure nobody's in the
And
way.
well, yeah, don't go into the middle of a kid's softball game, right, and start hucking the 50-pound keg. That's probably a terrible idea.
Hi, son. Could you spot
But-
me while I throw
yeah,
this
so-
keg?
So I'm super worried myself about it. Like, I'm going to be this weirdo in a baseball diamond throwing a keg in the air, and people are going to be driving by are going to be like, who is this guy? What's he doing?
And
But,
you're
I
like,
don't
you don't even know it's actually full of sand.
And they're actually going to call
exactly.
the cops on you. Be ready for that.
Be prepared.
Because if I had a
Pretty
kid who
much.
goes to a
Here's
park,
another
I'd
big
be like,
thing.
why is there a man throwing beer around this sports center? Words are hard.
Yeah, it's happened a few times. People have gotten in my truck and they've looked at it and had to explain that I'm not an alcoholic. It's filled with sand.
Yeah.
So Adam, I think this could be our last questions, unless Mary has something else as well. But so what has been some of the other? You've touched on, you being super strong and all of this health and fitness kind of playing into your job and being able to, lift cars and do fun mechanic things.
Yeah.
How else has the health and fitness journey that you've had played a positive role in your life?
I mean, it keeps you. I don't really know how to word it. I feel like I work harder at work. Basically, just not only just because I'm tired less, but simply because it's almost like exercise to me because of what I'm doing. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons I suppose we could go through, but I feel like I work harder and I put more effort into other aspects of my life because I'm working so hard at this. It's just become second nature to just work your ass off at
Yeah.
everything.
Also, there must
That
be things in
mental-
your. We always stop at the same time. It's hilarious. There must be some things in your life, like day to day, where you're like, this isn't even remotely as hard as what I had to do for my workout this morning. So, like, you're fine. Like, it almost gives day to day things perspective.
Yeah, pretty much all the
Yeah.
time.
And it's also like that strong mentality that you've gained throughout doing, pushing yourself harder and doing the hard things. Like that mentality that you've gained has also obviously come through in other ways in your life to push yourself harder. If I didn't say
Yeah,
that
so
enough.
like for example, kind of what you both were talking about, there's a recall on the Ford Transit right now where you had to take the drive shaft down out of it and put it on the ground and do a bunch of things to it and put it back up again. There's guys that when it's time to put the drive shaft back up, will have to grab like two other guys and they got to stop and go find two guys and then here's three people putting this drive shaft back up in the van. And then I'll be over there. I don't have to stop. I literally just pick the thing up, hold it up with my shoulders, and then just do what I gotta do.
What? Wait, so you can
So-
hold it up and work at the same time?
Yeah, I literally just hold it up with one hand where I need it to be, and I'll put the bolts
Your
in.
coworkers are probably just like, oh, fuck this guy.
We're used to it at
There's
this point.
Adam
I'm literally
again.
the guy they call
Right.
over for help
Yeah.
all the time. Every time somebody's got to pull a transmission off the stand,
you
or
make-
I picked up engines a couple of times. It's
You
just,
make
you know,
other
they're
dudes
just
feel
used to it
very
now.
bad about themselves.
Yeah, well, they can work harder then.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
that's a good
Yeah,
point.
they can. That was a good answer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I guess the last question that we ask everybody, and you know what it is, what would be your advice to your 20-year-old self? It could be fitness related, doesn't have to be fitness related, just any advice that you have.
Every time you have a low, there's going to be a high right after it, pretty much.
That's good.
Because, I mean, I've heard your guys' stories, and you guys kind of know mine. It's, you know, every time it seems like everything's really falling apart and going bad, there's something good that happens right after. So, I don't know, ride the roller coaster of 20, I guess.
Well, just ride
And
it
just
out.
don't worry about it too much.
I love that.
I think that's
great.
important right now. That's good.
Yeah. When there's a low, there's a high.
Yeah.
And Mary is actually the one who told me, what was it? The reason you feel happy is because you know what it's like to be sad or something like that. So it's the same. Like the
exactly.
reason you know that you're going through a high in life is because you know what it's like to be going through a low.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's spot on.
Awesome. Well, Adam, I'm so excited that you were able to come on and chat with us again. We haven't, what? Oh, yeah. No, this was, see, I wrote this outro the first time. I'm like, we actually haven't had anyone on the podcast yet to talk about health and fitness, but that's not true.
Edit.
So we have by this point, but it's a huge passion of Mary and mine, so it's very exciting to have you on to talk about it and to hear your different perspective, because it's, the way that you're training is a lot different from the way that Mary and I train and the way that the people we've talked to have trained, because we're not training to lift strong. I mean, we are training to lift strong things, but that's not like our only goal, and like eating that way and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to hear your perspective. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, perhaps they want some tips and tricks on how to lift heavy things or anything else, how can they get a hold of you?
Best way is Instagram. It's tinymuscle.u105.
That's really funny.
That's funny.
And yeah, I don't even know where the joke really kind of started. I just kind of, you know, online gaming and things with friends. I just started putting that in when it's like, oh, make yourself a name. I was like, yeah, Tiny Muscle, whatever, why not? Because it's a joke. And then it just kind of stuck, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with it. And honestly, I'm kind of half considering getting a license plate made.
It's
that's
hilarious.
Tiny
It's
Muscle.
fantastic.
Why
That's so
not?
funny. That's awesome. That's great. And we will link that in the show notes. And then once again, thank you so much for your support so far. It's been incredible to hear from you and hear what you think about the podcast. We just love hearing that stuff. So, and this has been I'm butchering this. This has been another episode of the Talking 20 podcast. You know what to do. Follow and subscribe wherever you're listening to help the podcast grow, and recommend it to other people. That would be awesome. We would love that. Rate and review it to entice people to listen, and make sure to follow along with our shenanigans on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Talking 20 Podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being on the show, Adam.
Thank you for having me. And honestly, stay in touch about the Tough Mudder thing. I really want to see how it goes.
Yeah, we will. Be awesome.